Hello, Eastern Nation. Welcome to our first of many interviews here for the 22-23 athletic season. I'm here with head women's soccer coach Jess Shanahan. Jess, thanks for taking a couple minutes today to talk with us.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Sean.
Jess, I know you had a successful playing career at LaSalle. You played overseas for a year, and last year was on the staff as the assistant. Now you're the head coach of this team. Kind of talk about the transition and what that has been like for you, going from being the assistant coach to being a first-time head coach here at Eastern University.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. It was really fast. I started as an assistant in August, became interim around winter, beginning of spring, and now full-time head coach, and our assistant is full-time. She's staying on. It's been a whirlwind, but honestly, it's been a really great experience. Our girls are awesome, and I think they help make the transition easy. For as much as we have to learn, they make every day a lot better, just because they're great people and great players.
I was going to go into that. Obviously, you're not going to a new school. You have coached these kids before, so has that made it easier for you to be able to, coach these kids because you have been with them for a year plus?
Yeah, I mean, knowing their personalities is huge. So we know them from the fall. We know them day in, day out, and who they are off the field as well, and it just helps us in the spring and helps me get to know them better on the field too, because if I know them personally, it's much easier than coming in with a whole new roster and having to figure that out from top to bottom.
And along with the roster too, obviously you have Carly Sikowski back, who was another assistant last year, obviously an Eastern alum and is on your coaching staff. Kind of talk about what that's been like to not only be back with these kids but to have Carly on your staff as well after a year of working together.
Yeah, I mean, Carly is invaluable. She has been at Eastern for 4 years as a player, and then has been on as a grad assistant and now a full-time assistant. So she helps me tremendously. Anything that has to do with Eastern, she knows like the back of her hand. So when it comes to recruiting, knowing these girls, professors, academics, she is just a rock star and really helps make my job easier.
Absolutely. Talk about what you've seen from your girls here. Obviously, you've had a year of work with off-season and preseason stuff. Talk, without giving too much away, obviously, what have you seen from your girls, and how do you feel they have progressed this off-season?
In the spring, our girls got after it from a fitness standard, from soccer on the field, but most importantly, their culture. Seeing them come together as one and just be a family has been, I think, our strongest point all spring long. There's no reason they can't run with the other teams, and the thing that's missing has been that intangible piece that championship teams are made of, or teams who have great runs. It's because of that team dynamic and the atmosphere and environment surrounding them. So that's what they started building in the spring, and we've seen it the day they arrived on campus this year, and the freshmen have just molded right into what they have started creating, and I think that's going to be our biggest advantage at this point, because they're looking great on the field, but seeing the family and the culture that they have is the strongest thing.
Back to your coaching staff, obviously you had a new coach in Natalie. What does she bring to your staff, and how do you think you're going to incorporate her this season on your coaching staff?
Yeah, so Natalie is someone that I actually lived with in Italy. We played on different teams in Italy, but we lived together, and her value is huge. She adds a ton of soccer experience. She's played at the Division I level. She's had injuries, kind of that up and down that every athlete has had in their life. And I know that she's going to be there for the girls. She can help on the field, in training sessions, and off the field. So her major in psychology and sports psychology, she is going to be here to help the girls, support them in any way that she can, and help Carly and I carry out our vision for the program. So super excited.
Absolutely. You bring back a lot of kids who had big roles last year. You bring back your two top goal scorers in Bryn Rathsom and Gabby Hollinger, a really solid back line with Gabby's sister Ashley, Lauren Lanning. Talk about what you've seen from your returners and how they have taken that next step as players under your tutelage.
Yeah, in the spring even, we had a ton of girls step up who maybe didn't get a ton of time in the fall, and then we saw them kind of like change into a completely different player in the spring, and seeing them return, they've returned in a great form. In terms of our back line, our attackers, and even the freshmen who've stepped in, we have so much talent on the team, and we didn't really graduate a ton of starters, so seeing these returners come back in form is super exciting for us. I think the biggest thing is we're starting to look very organized and have a sense of who we are on the field and in training, and the girls ask questions all the time, and we encourage them. The more mistakes you make now, the less you're going to make when it's crunch time, when it's game time. So just seeing that confidence in them bloom has been the biggest.
And then obviously with every team, you have new kids coming. You got a new goalie, some new forwards and midfielders, defenders. Talk about what you've seen from the new girls and how they have transitioned to collegiate soccer.
Yeah, so I mean the recruiting class, I got the chance to see a lot of them in the spring with their clubs. Some had been injured, so I hadn't seen a couple, but super impressed with the way that they came in. They were fit, they were sharp. We have a few with a little bit of injuries, but overall, they're raising the level. They're pushing the starters on the team currently to raise their level, or their spots are going to get taken to a degree, and that's what you want in a competitive team. You want people to challenge the other ones above them, whether it's a senior starting, a freshman starting. You want everybody from top to bottom to challenge those girls on the field and support them when they're on the bench cheering on their girls.
Absolutely. Now that you are the head coach, what kind of culture are you looking to build with this group? Obviously, again, the familiarity helps. What are you trying to build with this team and the culture you're trying to establish?
With these girls, and we've already seen it so far, and it's different, I think, from last year. They're blue collar, they're a family, and they just support each other, and I think that's the biggest thing. We have girls who run fitness tests, have finished the test, there's still girls running, and they jump in for the last lengths and push her and try and raise their scores. So we're starting to see it's not just the individual, it's about the entire team. So one has been kind of our word this year. We've been hashtagging it, we've been using it as a chant, 1 on 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. So that's the biggest thing. It's not about you, but we're one team and one family. So for them, they're strong, they're confident, they're blue collar, and we're one family.
You're looking at going into the season, obviously, conference record last year probably wasn't very ideal, looking to improve that. And you are in a very, very good conference with Messiah, obviously a pinnacle of excellence, how good LBC has been, Stevenson. Talk about how, now that you've seen those kids play and you have had a year in the MAC Commonwealth, how you're going to prepare for those tougher games coming up later this year against the teams like Messiah and Lebanon Valley and those schools.
Yeah, so, I got to watch them last year, but now at this point, we watch a ton of film. We like to see, who key players are, what kind of formations people play. I'm a very organized, and I think a lot. Maybe can be a disadvantage at times for me, but I like to do everything with a purpose. So I don't just throw the girls out there and say, get in this girl and do possession. We work on defensive movements. We work on attacking movements. What do you do if this girl steps out and she misses a tackle? Who's going to recover? So we're very methodical, and I think that it's going to be a challenge. I'm going to get things wrong, I'm going to screw up, but the more that we can prepare ourselves, prepare the girls, and make sure that they know what their job is when they get on the field, so that there's not room for doubt, room for question, the more successful we're going to be. And it might take time, but I think we're going in the right direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. You've been around the game a long time. You've played overseas. Your first game tomorrow as a head coach. How are you feeling? Nervous, excited? Kind of talk about your feelings as you head into your first game manning the sidelines of Eastern Women's Soccer tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not really nervous. I would say I'm mostly excited because I think the more you prepare, the less reason you have to be nervous. Of course, there's always a tiny bit of nerves because anything that's important to you or means something, that's going to be there. If it wasn't, you'd be crazy, I think. But more than anything, I'm just excited, and I know the rest of our coaching staff is too, because the girls have been so hard at work, and for us to just finally see them put it together. The preseason, the training sessions, that's where all our hard work goes into, but game days are where they get to showcase it. So if anything, the day leading up to it, everything we're doing, that's more of a job to me than the actual game, because I get to coach when necessary, but sit back and let them do their thing.
Absolutely.
So excited.
Just one final question. Again, thank you for your time here today. What are your expectations for this group this season? Obviously, that's always the kind of the softball question, but what do you expect from this group this coming season?
I expect a lot out of them. I think I hold a lot of people to high expectations, and I like when they do the same for me. But for them, I'm not result driven. I'd like to win. I'm competitive, but it's just about developing them as people and beyond. So if I see, just good character and all around great people, so for them, I just expect them to be a team who's supporting each other and really just lifting each other up through the hard times and the bad. And I think that's something that you're definitely going to see from them. You're going to see passion and heart, and they're going to look like a completely different group this year.
Awesome. Jess, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to the start of your season tomorrow against Ursinus here at Olsen Field, 4 o'clock.